Hi, everybody. Welcome to my homestead and welcome to my channel. My name is Jared. I got this comment from Phil and Malia Waits. Jared, my friend last week told me that her stake president shared during her stake conference that all Arizona stake presidents met with Elder Holland together. This was Elder Holland's first time out since he had been sick. And I'm assuming that's when he was hospitalized is what she's referring to. Continuing. Today was our ward conference, and our stake president spoke last and shared that he had met with Elder Holland with other stake presidents, and that Elder Holland's message was that the game is almost over, and that we better choose what side we are on, and that we are a day closer. Now, I normally wouldn't share stories like this. I used to do it more in the beginning of my channel, and then always, take these things with a grain of salt. Not saying that you're lying, Phil and Malia Waits. I believe you, but it is secondhand information. But the reason why I want to share it is because it's very in tune with what we've seen on the channel. There's been similar statements made by President Nelson and others that use this like sports analogy of how we're at the end of the game. And I'm going to share those with you in just a minute in case you haven't heard them or just as a review. It's pretty astounding. So I feel like this is just another, I'm not going to write this down, but I want to take note of it that President Holland said that. And then continuing, Phil and Malia Waits says, our first hymn was number 3, Now Let Us Rejoice. Our last hymn was number 243, Let Us All Press On. So I don't know if the stake president had a hand in picking those, but if he did, Now Let Us Rejoice is like a millennial song. And then Let Us All Press On. It's, let us all press on. We're almost there. Thought you might find this exciting. And thank you. Yes, I do. So before we get into the other quotes, let me show you the Flood the Earth challenge. I haven't updated this since the last video, but if you missed that video, we have one new report of somebody that got baptized. So that's the second for this month. And 36 total since we started this challenge in December of 2022. And then we have 3 new reports of people meeting with the missionaries, which brings us to 117 total and 10 for the month. January has been pretty good, especially compared to the last couple months. It's been a good month and it's not over yet. So if you haven't joined the challenge already, I would encourage you to do so. The reason why we're doing this is because it helps other people get motivated to share the Book of Mormon. Remember, the point of the challenge is to essentially motivate yourself and others. It's not so much to keep track of what you had previously done before doing the challenge or things that would happen just anyway. Like if you have somebody in your ward and it wasn't as a result of you and the challenge, then we're not going to record that. We're recording just the results of intentionally participating in this challenge. Okay. But anyway, good job, everybody. Keep up the good work. So let's go like this. First, I wanted to, what he said here when he said that we are one day closer. It made me think about this excerpt from his book called Our Day Star Rising, published in 2022, pages 48 to 49. And this is what he said. In everything that you are seeing, more active priesthood, more engaged relief society, more attention to the youth, more temples that are being built, more creations of units, more home-centered experience. As all of that unfolds, every bit of that is an attempt to make us true, living disciples of Christ 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, at all times and in all things and in all places that we may be in. That is what is happening in this church, and we have been preparing for it for a long time. All the years that I have been a general authority, we have talked about these things. The timing is such that they are coming to pass now. I don't know what that means. I don't think it means the second coming is tomorrow. I don't think it is the day after tomorrow, but it could be, and it is going to be some tomorrow. Now, I have this quote saved on my quotes, common misconceptions spreadsheet, because here you have an apostle that is meeting with the other apostles in the first presidency. And he didn't say, I don't think it's tomorrow because we still have all these prophecies that have to play out. We still haven't seen X, Y, and Z. He says it could be. if there were big things that still need to happen, he would have said, brothers and sisters, let's not get ahead of ourselves. We still have a lot of work to do before the second coming, before we can even start thinking about the second coming. There's probably going to be people that in the comments say something like, well, we haven't seen the 10 lost tribes. We haven't seen the New Jerusalem be built up. I've covered these things a million times on the channel, and I can't do it right now, but just know that one thing that we have covered, and it's on this spreadsheet that I'm looking at right now, is that prophecy a lot of times is fulfilled in natural ways. And unless you have the Spirit, you don't even know that prophecy has been fulfilled. And another thing to be careful of is how you conceive in your mind how a prophecy is supposed to be fulfilled. We shouldn't look to ourselves and lean on our own understanding and our own imaginations. And we could be right, but we should try reading the scriptures as well as looking to the words of prophets and apostles who do know how a prophecy is going to be fulfilled, or at least have a much better idea than what we would. So anyway, there's that. So what we read from Phil and Malia Waits about that we are a day closer just reminds me what he says here. I don't think it is the day after, or I don't think it means that the second coming is tomorrow. I don't think it is the day after tomorrow, but it could be. And it is going to be some tomorrow. Now, let's go ahead and get into this game symbolism or metaphor. Let's just read again what was said in the comment. Elder Holland's message was that the game is almost over and that we better choose what side we're on. Okay, so the earliest quote that I know of using the sports imagery is this talk from Ezra Taft Benson. It's called In His Steps. It was a devotional at BYU, March 4th, 1979. And he was in the quorum of the 12 apostles at this time. And this is what he said. For nearly 6,000 years, God has held you in reserve to make your appearance in the final days before the second coming of the Lord. Every previous gospel dispensation has drifted into apostasies, but ours will not. True, there will be some individuals who will fall away, but the kingdom of God will remain intact to welcome the return of its head, even Jesus Christ. While our generation will be comparable in wickedness to the days of Noah, when the Lord cleansed the earth by flood, there's a major difference this time. It is that God has saved for the final inning. Okay, that's a baseball analogy. There's 9 innings in a baseball game. The final inning is the 9th. Okay, so it is that God has saved for the final inning some of his strongest children who will help bear off the kingdom triumphantly. And that is where you come in, for you are the generation that must be prepared to meet your God. All through the ages, the prophets have looked down through the corridors of time to our day. Billions of the deceased and those yet to be born have their eyes on us. Make no mistake about it, you are a marked generation. There has never been more expected of the faithful in such a short period of time as there is of us. And that actually reminds me, I wasn't planning on this, but that reminds me of another talk. Russell M. Nelson, True Millennials. So the people that Ezra Taft Benson was talking to would have been like Generation X at that time. But President Nelson said something similar in this talk. This was also at it wasn't a it was a worldwide, 2016, a worldwide devotional for young adults at BYU, Hawaii. And it's called Becoming True Millennials. Okay, so he says here, when I pray about you and ask the Lord how he feels about you, I feel something far different from what the researchers say. Spiritual impressions I've received about you lead me to believe that the term millennial may actually be perfect for you, but for a much different reason than the experts may ever understand. The term millennial is perfect for you if that term reminds you of who you really are and what your purpose in life really is. A true millennial is one who was taught and did teach the gospel of Jesus Christ premortally, and who made covenants with our Heavenly Father there about courageous things, even morally courageous things that you would do while here on earth. A true millennial is a man or a woman whom God trusted enough to send to earth during the most compelling dispensation in the history of this world. A true millennial is a man or a woman who lives now to help prepare the people of this world for the second coming of Jesus Christ and his millennial reign. Make no mistake about it. Just like Ezra Taft Benson, make no mistake about it. You are a marked generation. President Nelson, make no mistake about it. You were born to be a true millennial. So this is interesting, right? So you have this kind of like similar statement. And I think that President Nelson was very inspired by Ezra Taft Benson, because I've seen a number of times that he's kind of like carried on with these like different ideas and concepts and phrases from Ezra Taft Benson. And this is one of them. Let's move on to President Nelson, now president of the church. Back in 2016, he was president of the Quorum of the 12 Apostles, but now he's president of the church. April 2022 General Conference. It was his main talk called The Power of Spiritual Momentum. May I underscore this call to action by discussing a concept I was reminded of recently while watching a basketball game. In that game, the first half saw a seesaw battle back and forth. Then, during the last 5 seconds of the first half, a guard on one team made a beautiful three-point shot. With only 1 second left, his teammate stole the inbound pass and made another basket at the buzzer. So the team went into the locker room 4 points ahead with a palpable surge of momentum. They were able to carry that momentum into the second half and win the game. So with Ezra Taft Benson, we have the baseball analogy of being in the final inning. With this, he's telling a story, but it's probably for us to apply to ourselves, that we are similarly moving into the last half of the game, or however you want to think about it, the end of the game. Okay, the next one, I'm going to have to go to my spreadsheet because, let's see. Because all I have is the audio clip of this. Somebody sent this to me. I have the audio file. I'm not going to play it, but I can send it to you if you'd like. But this was a recorded message for Strength of Youth 2022, President Nelson. Okay, he says, "You're here now because God chose you to be here now, and that says something crucial and important about you. We are living in this final and last dispensation, the only dispensation that will not end in apostasy." This is very much like what we just read from Ezra Taft Benson. "Our Father reserved you for now because he knew you would have the courage and strength to withstand the adversary's coming opposition to God's plan for you. Heavenly Father knew you would recognize truth, and he knew you would be willing to help carry the message of Jesus Christ and his gospel to others around the world." Using a baseball analogy, just like Ezra Taft Benson that we just read, we are in the last half of the ninth inning. So at Ezra Taft Benson's time, we were in the final inning. Now with President Nelson, we're in the last half. Again, it is my own opinion, and it's just my opinion. I don't think they're saying this for us to like try and calculate the years or, try and figure out precisely how much time we have left in the game or anything like that. I think it's simply to demonstrate that we're just that much closer. Like we're so close that it's like it's basically the final play of the game. The last half of the ninth inning, that's when you have the last team that's up to bat, right? And I've pointed out a number of times that President Nelson has been all about the Lord's Youth Battalion and this generation of missionaries. In 2018, he did the Worldwide Youth Devotional where he introduced the concept of the Lord's Youth Battalion. And then things were interrupted in 2020 because of the pandemic. But now things are starting to rebound, and we've had a surge of missionaries last year. The last I checked, it got up over 72,000, which is not as high as it used to be. There was a big surge when President Monson lowered the missionary age. So it may be a while before we get up to that point, but I don't know. Where we're at right now is pretty good. In fact, I have a spreadsheet for it. Let's just check that out really quick. Timeline, missionary work. Here we go. Column E. So President Monson's time, the peak was 85,000. This was due to the lowering of the mission age. After that, it dropped back down to 74, and then 70, and then 67. And then here's President Nelson, 65, 67. Then the pandemic, 51, 56. But now, 2022, 68, and 2023, 72. So you see how there was like this decline since the peak, right? Things started to kind of level out. Well, now we're back up to where we were all the way back in, basically between 2015 and 2016. There's been a surge, and they've talked about it in a couple articles on church news. We've covered it. So there is a surge right now. And just the way that he's talking, I can't say for sure, but the way that he's talking, I think that this is the final team. I think this is the last team that's up to bat. And I think it's the transition team, frankly. So, okay, so let's get back to it. Okay, where is it? Here we go. Using a baseball analogy, we are in the last half of the 9th inning. Our Heavenly Father and His Son chose you to be on their team when the game's on the line. That's like another, like, it's the end, the final score is about to be determined. This means they know you, they trust you, they trust you and they'll help you fulfill your personal mission on this earth. So during this conference, do what young Joseph did when he had a question. Prayerfully ask God if what I tell you is true. Ask Him if you really are one of His elect and noble spirits. Ask Him if you have a special part to play in the gathering of Israel. That is His agenda for this final inning. If you ask sincerely, with great humility, I promise you the Lord will let you know through the whisperings of His Spirit. The answers may not come quickly, but they will come. And when you know who you really are, you'll have the courage to enlist in the Lord's battalion to help gather Israel for the rest of your life. And in case there's any misconceptions about the millennium, it's been a while since we've covered it. Missionary work is going to continue into the millennium. We don't know how long, but it's going to be until all the old generations pass away or are converted. But we have quotes talking about the millennium. There's still going to be all the different belief systems, believe it or not, during that time. And there's still going to be missionary work. And at some point in the future, everybody will be converted. But there's going to be a great need for missionaries. So, okay, so we have that. And then we have this. This is from a YouTube video. And the YouTube video is this. You've probably seen this before, or you might remember when I covered this. This is on a Warning Voice channel. The name of the video is He is Coming. He really is, and it's imminent. And this is, let me just double check here. I don't think no, I cited that right. Oh, yeah. Stephen J. Lund, Young Men General President. Okay. So he's telling this story of his call. Yeah, I'll just read the whole thing. Just a few months ago, I got a phone call from a fellow I knew. He said, "Hey, I got a new job." And I said, "Oh, congratulations. Where are you working now?" He says, "Well, I'm actually President Nelson's assistant, executive secretary." And I said, "Wow, that's a great job. I love your boss." And he said, "Yeah, I love him too. Actually, he wants to talk to you." And I said, "Well, okay, when?" He says, "How about tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock? And so, okay, any hints? And he laughed and he said, "No, just come on down." And so we hung up and I looked at my wife, and I'm very intuitive about these things. And I thought about that. Well, I've been serving on the Young Men's General Board for 5 years. The old presidency is being released. President Nelson is such a remarkable human being. Isn't this great? He's going to tell us, "Thank you for your 5 years of service, and don't call us, we'll call you." And send me down the road. But what a nice thing for him to do. And so I walked in completely clueless. I'd been in his office with my wife for about 15 minutes or seconds, and he pulled up a chair and was just sitting knee to knee with me. And he said, "Steve, we brought you up here actually to call you to be the young men's general president." My brain was just kind of turned off just then because I had just no, that's how spiritually attuned I am. I didn't see that coming at all. I guess I stammered a little bit, and he said, "Well, will you take the job?" And I said, "Well, of course, President Nelson, but with fear and trembling." And he kind of sat back in his chair, a little disgusted, and he said, "Well, I hope with a little joy too." And I said, "Well, I'm sure the joy will come when the shock wears off." And he said, "Well, it's important that you're here, and it's important that you understand this because this is a very important time for the church. You know, we're in the end of times here, and this is a very important time for the youth of the church." And then he stood up and he walked behind his chair and says, "You know, I've invited them to serve in the Lord's battalions." And I said, "Yes, President Nelson, I know that you have, and I know that they're listening." And he said, "Well, I hope so. I know that many are because this is such an important time of gathering, and the opportunity for them to be engaged in that work gathering has never been like this before." Then he went on for about 10 minutes without taking a breath, 95-year-old President Nelson. And just his whole visage just lighted up with enthusiasm. He talked to me about this final work of the gathering. Okay? This final work of the gathering and his deployment of the youth of the church to make that happen. This thing that has been talked about by apostles and prophets for as long as there have been people on this earth, looking forward to the end game, when the earth will be rolled up like a scroll and the Savior will come again. Now, in case you think that end game is just a generic term, it is, but it's not just a generic term by itself. If you go to Merriam-Webster dictionary, it says the stage of a chess game after major reduction of forces. Also, the final stage of some action or process. If you go to Collins dictionary, noun, the first one, chess. The final stage of a game, usually following the exchange of queens and the serious reduction of forces. And then definition number 2, the late or final stages of any activity. But here is yet another game reference. In this case, chess. They're using all these like sports and games as metaphors. Okay, so to finish it up, and I walked out of that room just with this intense understanding and knowledge confirmed to me by the Spirit that I share with you, and that is, he's coming. He really is, and it's imminent. I don't know what that means. All I know is that there's a sense of urgency about the brethren. Gosh, this is just such an incredible quote that we have here, and I'm so glad that we have it. Okay, and then let's see, was that it? Yes, it is. So those are the game references that I have for you. So when Phil and Malia Waits tells us that President Holland, his message was that the game is almost over, I'm thinking that this is probably like a common thing, like when they're having meetings and talking to each other. It's probably just like one of those things that's developed and carried over from at least Ezra Taft Benson's time, and it's probably picked up recently with President Nelson. He's very focused on this, and it sounds like the game is almost over, and you want to make sure that you're wearing the right jersey. I did a, let's see, let me pull up my community tab. I've been doing a couple polls. I'm just curious. I just want to find out what I can about my audience. Sorry, things that I can't find in Google Analytics. So 11 days ago, I did a survey asking, if you're subscribed to my channel, which Latter-day Saint denomination do you belong to? Because I've had hints in the past that not all of you are in the main church, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. You have all these different groups, different splinter groups. And this is the second time that I've done this. The last time there was somebody from the Community of Christ that had answered it. And I think one of the polygamist offshoots. And this time I got another, I don't know how many people, but 1% it says, that are a polygamist offshoot. So to you, if you've been watching this channel, I would encourage you to look into the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, whose prophet is President Nelson, and join it. Join it. That is going to be your safest assurance as we approach the second coming. I know that you have your beliefs, and that's fine. Pray about it. But really, really think about it, especially if you're watching this channel. I don't know if like someone is just being silly and just like, they're just trying to be funny and like, oh, polygamist, haha. Or I don't know if it's a genuine person, but I do have reason to believe that there are people from these other churches that are watching the channel and that are subscribed. I know from Sister Wives, the TV show, that the UAB, United Apostolic Brethren, I know that they like still follow what's happening with our church because their belief system is that they've been splintered off to preserve polygamy and some of what they believe are original beliefs, and that the time will come when they're going to come back and like correct the church, but the church is still valid. It's just that it's gone astray. And so, it's great if that's you're watching the channel, but please consider joining the church. Anyway, and then I did another poll. Which of the following best describes your church activity? Active, less active, inactive, not a member of the church. And, I have more of those, more than I do from other splinter groups and offshoots. So if you're less active, you're inactive, you're not a member of the church, please think about, first joining the church. And if you need me to, I can get you in contact with the missionaries. Okay. Or you can just go to the church website. There, you can find it pretty easily how to get in contact with the missionaries. If you're inactive or less active and you're subscribed, again, I'm glad that you're here and that you're learning about these things, but the game is almost over. We need to get you from inactive and less active to active. So please do it, and just please do it now. Do it now. I know it's hard. I know that there's people at church that suck sometimes. You have toxic people that make it so you don't want to be there. But that's not the point of church. Just go. Try and make friends with other people. If you can't make friends, just go anyway, because this is what you need to do. You need to be taking the sacrament. You need to be keeping the Sabbath day holy and participating. And just remember, things always change. There's always people moving in and out of wards. So if that's the issue, just wait. There will be new people that move into your ward. Here in Kansas, I'm surprised how often we get new people. Like I thought that it'd be just very slow. We're like out in the boonies, but no, we just got a new couple just recently within like this last month. So things change, but that's not the point. The point is you want to make sure you're living the best that you can and that you're on the covenant path by the time that Christ comes, because you do not want to miss out on those blessings. The blessings that are going to come to the 5 wise virgins. Don't be a foolish virgin. Be a wise virgin. And come to church. So anyway, that's pretty much all that I have to say for this one. So if you haven't already, please make sure to subscribe. Like this video if you liked it. Leave your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. Also make sure to share it, and I'll talk to you guys later.